whoa, what are you doing? We can't use that. We'll get, like, sued or something. Just start the show.
Hey everyone, welcome to the very first episode of Let's Get Real. I'm Will Rodriguez. I am excited to be joined by two epic gentlemen within the film industry in Virginia. Gentlemen, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Yeah, well, my name is Tom White. I'm a award-winning film producer, indie budgets filmmaker here in Virginia. I've been making films with, at least half of these guys for a while here. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about some movies, man.
Cool, Tom. Love to have you on the podcast. And then next to him, we've got my good friend Nick Albertson. Nick, say hello.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm Nick Albertson. I am too an award-winning filmmaker. Technically, I forget about that. I've done. I never remember these things. I currently am very lucky enough to work in production. I do local TV production, editing and videography and all that jazz. And I'm a film geek, so I'm very excited to talk about this stuff too.
So I am super excited. I guess that makes me the Susan Lucci of the three because I've been nominated for all kinds of awards, but never once won. So we won't mention that. Right? Okay.
That's not true. You've won awards.
Yeah, you won. I'm pretty
You
sure
have
you
one.
won.
I've watched you win an award.
I love how he's like, I haven't won any awards, and we're all like, yes, you have.
World's greatest dad does not count. Sorry.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I think I got that one too.
Sure. Fill me up on that one too, Tom. Thanks.
I don't have any children, so I can't participate in that one.
All right, well, I'm sure that you had a world's best dad sometime too. All right, so we're excited that you are with us today. This is a brand new movie podcast. We're going to be really dissecting today the Suicide Squad that all three of us had a chance to watch. But before we do that, we've got some movie news that we want to kind of chat about. First and foremost, it wouldn't be COVID times without this news item. Turns out the Ghostbusters Afterlife, Top Gun Maverick, and Mission Impossible 7 all are being delayed again. Ghostbusters Afterlife is delayed only a few days to November 19th, while Top Gun Maverick is being delayed to May, and Mission Impossible 7 is actually being delayed till September, both 2022. Yep.
So I'm trying to, because a lot of movies now are releasing on streaming services and stuff like that. So why are the releases being delayed is it just because of the theater situation? Is that what it is?
They've been delayed due to a surge in the U.S. COVID cases caused by the Delta variant. At least that's what that's what BBC had reported. So I know they got it. I know specifically. I don't know a lot with Maverick because from what I remember, I believe Maverick was pretty much done. It was just unfortunately going to be coming out in the middle of last summer when nothing was going on. You know, nothing important was happening in the world that would have prevented us from being able to see a Tom Cruise movie. But you know, since all of us were all trapped inside and everything there, they ended up delaying Maverick for that. However, I do know for sure that Mission Impossible itself, that production was delayed several times due to COVID issues. You know, and those were been pretty reported. I think
I remember Tom Cruise.
Where Tom Cruise is.
Yeah, I remember hearing Tom Cruise yelling at everybody for not following the protocol and whatnot.
He's kind of over. He was over it before anybody else. I believe with the people following the protocols, because you know at that point it was costing him. He's being the main producer of definitely for Mission Impossible. I assume for Top Gun as well. Yeah. But I know that it was costing him money, and so he was trying to get those moving. And
he might be a Scientologist, but he's not an idiot.
No, he's not, man. And if
I think an argument could be made for that being one and the same.
Well, you know, one thing, one of my favorite Batman episodes of Batman the Animated Series was just titled, "Well, if you're so smart, why aren't you rich?"
Yeah,
So I
I
will
remember that
give
episode.
some credit to Tom Cruise that he's
Yes.
probably at least smart enough to know how to make a lot of money, and he knows if those productions get shut down, his investments and returns aren't where he's going to want them
He
to be.
he
Right.
might believe in Thetans and Evil Lord Xenu, but damn it, he knows set safety.
Well, I'm glad somebody does. I mean, he's for all
Yeah.
his crazy stuff. That was one of the things I can sympathize with. That I would, since there were a lot of productions that did get shut down for longer stints and really cost a lot of money to the studios, especially at the beginning, the ones that were filming when COVID started. And I know Mission Impossible was one of those. But Mission Impossible continued to try to, they really tried to chug along and push through all of that. And so delays were kind of one of those things that you were expecting there. However, again, with Top Gun, that is still kind of surprising to me. I think that's more a play at the fact that people aren't really coming back to theaters at the rate that, studios are really happy with that are doing those studio only releases. I mean, it's Maverick, it's Top Gun, it's Tom Cruise. He wants to make the best return that he can when he
Mhm.
drops that movie, because that's a franchise. He doesn't want to be looking at a 28 million dollar opening weekend. You know what I'm
Mm-mm.
saying? Like, that's not what he wants. He wants much more than that,
Right.
because those movies should make a lot of money.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. And just speaking of that, do you know what movies actually slated to break box office records? Actually,
I
Which
do
movie is
not.
that?
it's coming out right now. Shang-Chi, the new Marvel flick coming out. That's
Ah,
by the
Is
time
that
people hear it, will
is
have come
that
out
the
this
one that
Friday.
like everyone's forgotten about now since the Spider-Man trailer dropped? in all the memes I've been seeing, that's like the redheaded stepchild now.
Well, forgotten or not,
that's the one.
Deadline's actually reporting the film's predicted to earn 45 to 50 million in its opening weekends, which is actually going to break the record for highest earning films over Labor Day weekend, which is currently held by Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween.
That
Were you aware?
Wow.
okay, so I'm actually more
Huh.
surprised that the Halloween remake, the Rob Zombie Halloween remake, is
Mhm.
the current record holder for that. I've seen that movie.
I've
It's
seen that too.
I mean, it's okay. Like the original Halloween is my favorite like horror
If you
movie
go
ever.
back in time, it makes sense. However,
That's true.
actually more surprised
2007
that
was a different time.
Shang-Chi in 2007 was very different. But I'm actually kind of surprised with Shang-Chi, because I got to be honest, I'm going to be, this is one of those things where it might be an unpopular opinion. I could not care less about Shang-Chi.
Me
What?
either. Me
Like,
either. But here's
I honestly couldn't. There's nothing about his. The most exciting thing about Shang-Chi's trailers was like Wong and the Abomination. That's it.
No, no,
That's it.
no.
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I mean,
I
maybe and here's the thing. Everyone that's seen it seems to love it. So I'm
Mhm.
probably wrong.
yeah.
But as far as like anticipation for it, I have like zero. This is one of those things where I've already gone. I'll wait to see it, and when I can watch it at home. I'm
Right.
not. This
Well,
isn't going to get me to the theater.
growing up, I was a big comic book fan, nerd, geek, whatever you want to
Hmm.
call it. And Shang-Chi was actually a comic called Master of Kung Fu. And I
Hmm.
actually loved that because I loved Bruce Lee. I loved all the old martial arts movies. So to me, the choreography alone in these fights are just spectacular. And I can't wait to watch it. The only problem is that it's only releasing in theaters, and we're not quite there yet for COVID reasons. So I'm gonna have to
Hmm.
wait to watch it, which is terrible because I know we're gonna get spoiled on some stuff. And you all know how much I
Yeah,
love
because you're not
spoilers.
going to be able to avoid the internet for 45 days.
No.
I'm gonna do my best, though.
No. Yeah. I have no hype for it either. But that's just because I'm a filthy casual. So when it comes to superhero movies, I'm a very self-admitted I'm a filthy casual. So
Right.
Well, I got to tell you, I love superheroes. I've grown up reading comic books. Mostly graphic novels. I'll be honest, and everything, and then finish completed volumes. But
put down that pinky. You
but
show me your color.
not comic books, graphic novels.
not the
Thank
comic
you.
books. Not the comic books. The
Get it
graphic
right.
novels.
Get it
The,
straight.
Come on,
culture.
please. Get us
You
right.
Anyway.
uncultured swine.
I also have a cigarette holder.
That's right.
Yes, you do.
But yeah, no, man. I Shang-Chi, you know how they say that it's starting to get to that point where it feels like we're scraping the bottom of the barrel for superheroes now? Like,
You were not going to say
Shang-Chi
Shang-Chi is the bottom of the
is.
barrel.
Hold on, let me be honest. There is every single superhero. You remember back when they said the Guardians of the Galaxy are obscure superheroes that nobody knows? I
Yeah.
was like, you guys are crazy. The Guardians of the Galaxy are great. Wait till you get a load of Rocket Raccoon, right? And then they were like, yo, hey, we're making Shang-Chi. I was like, who is that? I literally said, who is that? I know everybody. I've watched the Iron Fist show, man. I've done.
Oh,
That's how
sorry
much
about that.
I'm into superheroes and will. Yeah, exactly. I thank you, because
But-
they
but-
really do need to apologize for those.
Well, I agree with you, first of all, because talking about martial artists, if I was into Master of Kung Fu, Iron Man, I'm sorry, Power Man and Iron Fist were like the group for me, man.
Mhm.
And to see this whiny little idiot
Mhm.
try to be Iron Fist, I wanted to throw my remote through the TV screen. It was just
It was
not.
pretty.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, here's the you know the Iron Fist that they chose was so bad that it really displayed how good of a Luke Cage Michael Colton was, because the
Mm.
like one episode or the few episodes they had together, I always liked the Iron Fist a little bit more
Wow.
because of I like Luke Cage so much. And
Oh,
it'd just be
boy.
like, but I'm like, but still, I didn't
Yeah.
like him.
I'm,
You know what
I'm,
I mean? I didn't like him.
I'm
It was
so-
still one of those things, but I just liked Michael Colton. I liked him as Luke Cage, and I thought Luke
Wow.
Cage was really great on the front half of the first season. I thought it went to hell after
Right.
when
All
they
right.
got. Actually, I think it was three or four, however
I-
many episodes in. At whatever point
Will's
where
brain
that
is
thing
exploding
changed.
over
I
there.
gotta break in here, and Nick, I'm sorry that we got off on this tangent,
Go on, go on.
No, it's cool.
I-
If anything, it just means I missed nothing by not watching Iron Fist.
That is
You
true.
didn't. You
That
really
is
did
true.
not.
I missed nothing.
You're welcome.
But,
Yeah, good.
but when it comes to the short, I'm sorry, to the small screen version of Power Man, that dude was not Power Man. He was way too nice, way too sweet. If you read the Power Man comics,
Okay,
this
no, I'll
man
give you
was
that.
a
I'll give
badass.
you that. I'll give you that. However, I still enjoyed Michael Colton's portrayal. I see where you're coming from,
Right.
and I have to give you that. Luke
And
Cage
you-
is not that guy necessarily in the comics.
No,
That's
and
a
you
fact.
and I have had
That's
this
a fact.
conversation
Mhm.
a lot, right? I am a purist.
Yes.
I need to stick to the story and the character.
I
Like,
know.
I can't stand brunettes who are pretending to be blonde superheroes, right? We've gone through all this before, and we'll go through it 1,000 times again. That dude was not Power Man.
Serious. It's a
That dude was
serious
like a
thing. I got you.
sleepy, like nice guy who wants to help it. That's not Power Man, dude.
He's
Power
a
Man was like a
yes, I get
badass,
it. He was
you know,
he was a really nice guy, really gentle guy. Wanted to take you out for coffee. I
too
get it.
gentle, too gentle. That's not Power Man, man.
I cannot
just
wait,
not-
and this is a teaser for a future episode, possibly. I cannot wait until we have a debate about like Man of Steel, because Will
Oh,
man.
loves Superman.
Don't
God,
don't listen. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Oh,
I
we're
love
gonna
Man
do
of
it.
Steel too much.
It's
Let's
gonna
not
be
do it.
great. It's gonna be
I'm sorry,
fantastic.
that is not Superman. Okay, anyway, Tom, I think you've got another news item that you want to bring up, right?
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to talk about John Cena.
John
Um,
Cena.
It turns out that yes, the man who can't be seen. John Cena is apparently, they say that they're reporting that he's on a career high right now in as far as movies go, with coming out
agree
with
with that.
Fast and the Furious, and I agree too.
He was
Fast
great
and
in
the
the
Furious.
firefighter movie.
Which firefighter movie?
Yeah, he was a firefighter. He's taking care of these kids. That was like the best.
I missed that one.
What movie was that? Is that one of those like? Was that one of those like?
Was that one of the kids
family
movie he did?
movies? Like,
Yes,
oh, see, that's why I
Yes,
didn't see that.
okay.
Yeah.
it was called Playing with Fire. And if you've not seen that movie, shame on you. You know, you're no John Cena fan.
Okay, let me tell you something. John Cena. I'm such a John Cena fan. I'll tell you this. John Cena cameos in this really obnoxious kid named Fred. Like his show.
Oh my
It was
god,
his
that was
thing on Nickelodeon. Believe it or not, it was really popular. and it
Yeah,
had
God help us
movies.
all.
And in the movies, see, here's the thing: like in the movies, like Fred's this kid and everything whose dad's like never around, right? But his dad is played by John Cena. So in that particular thing, because they never really like, it's not like a dress to dress like that or whatever, but like in this kid show, there is a joke about the idea that the guy's dad is never seen. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And
and
because
that's
John
probably what
Cena, you can't
it's.
see
You
him.
can't see me. There
Oh,
you go. Thank you, Nick.
jeez.
Nick gets it.
So it
Nick
was
gets it. Nick
for
gets
us.
it.
So Tom and I are big wrestling fans. So for us,
I'm
that
sorry.
joke works. The show Fred though was, I mean, there's really
It was
no way
horrible.
around.
It was horrible.
It's terrible. Like it.
No, don't seek this out, Will. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Don't
Mm,
seek this out.
mm.
Anyway,
Well,
back to
don't
the
don't
news.
worry about that.
John Cena. It looks like he might be moving in on some Marvel territory, looking
Hmm.
at a particular franchise, but
Little crossover, DC and
little
Marvel.
crossover deal. Yeah, he's about to be a twofer.
Wait, crossover deal? He's
I
gonna
like
he's
that.
gonna bring Peacemaker to the Marvel universe?
Well, no.
I
It's
hope
just
so.
he is John Cena.
That'd be
He himself is
fantastic.
the crossover, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, no. They're talking about adding him particularly as the Thing. It was mentioned. But
The
I believe what
Thing.
he said, yeah, someone they were talking about him playing the Thing with the Fantastic Four,
Huh.
and I guess it got around to him, and Cena, I guess, explained, and he said, "I would consider most anything."
Of course he did.
I think keeping
That's
yourself
a
open to
very John
options.
Cena
Yeah,
response.
Oh,
that is a very John Cena response. You know,
Nick,
he
when you
had
edit this
to.
scene, you got to throw in a little rim shot there or something.
I know. We need
Yeah,
a little.
yeah,
I need
give
to
us
get a
a,
little sound effects board like a radio show.
Right? Okay.
yeah, but
So,
he says I think keeping yourself open to options and different perspectives is a good way to do go about life. This would simply be a thing because
oh,
of
brother.
yeah.
But
I would consider because I like to keep my perspective open to new things.
Oh my.
Is
Come
that's the film?
on.
That's the guy. That's
Okay.
the guy.
So then my
That's the guy.
question to you is John Cena being John Cena, is he going to be hidden behind all the prosthetics to be the Thing? Can you even see that?
It depends on which way they go, man. I don't think. Here's the funny thing: for as
Uh-oh.
horrible as it was,
Uh-oh. No,
Fan
no, no, no.
Force,
You're not going to go. No.
fan,
No. No.
fan
No.
for
No.
God.
No. No.
stick, fan for stick. Um, their look for the Thing, nothing about the story. Like there's nothing story wise good about that movie. I'm sorry, there's just not. But
I'm with you. Okay.
the
I don't think
actual
that's an
look of the
unpopular
Thing,
opinion. You don't have to apologize for
it's not
that.
unpopular. I never know with Will because he could have gone, but this one particular thing they got so right.
It was in the comics. They got it perfect.
Yeah, and it was perfect.
There has not been a perfect thing yet. Let's just put it
There
that
you go. Well, I will say this: I think that the visual for the Thing in that movie was one of the better things that's in the movie.
way.
No
I
pun
see what you did
intended
there.
on that one. Yeah, and he was and he was digital. He was digital. And that was I believe that was Jamie Bell that played the Thing there. And
It was.
not that he had much dialogue wise to really work with in that movie anyway, but so I don't know. It really depends on what look they're going to go for the Thing. I think with the way the MCU is and the fact that they have so many CGI characters already that are in there, and CGI's kind of gotten to this point where, you can watch Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk for a whole movie, but you still see Mark Ruffalo with that technology. I think we're kind of beyond the point of all the
Well,
prosthetics and everything.
that example that you gave is a good one, but I still see movies where I'm like the CGI looks like shit. Like it looks really bad to me.
Oh yeah, but do you think Kevin Feige is going to give you that?
I mean, probably not. I hope not.
But see, here's the thing. Here's where
Maybe
I
he'll
would go.
start with Shang-Chi.
Here's where I would have a problem with that though, because the Thing does not look like Ben Grimm in the comics. He does not look like him. So it's the Thing.
I see what you're saying.
If the Thing looks like John Cena, again, not the Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
See, well, Cena's at least got the size though. Like you don't really have to bulk Cena up much.
Hold on. Here's my thing. Okay.
I see what you did there too.
Without that one piece, there will.
Yes.
Is John Cena a decent casting for the Thing?
Yes, I do think
Okay.
if he's willing to, if
If
he's
his
willing,
hair was blonde,
yeah,
he'd be
right.
a great Flash.
But you know what? Damn it! If they don't get the color of the rocks right, there's going to be
Well,
hell
that's
to
it.
pay.
If those rocks are
That's right.
brown and not orange,
Orange. That's right.
actually, you know what?
got me.
Hold on. Will's got a point on that one. I would
Thank
knee
you.
on
Well,
that
yeah,
too.
no,
Okay,
I mean, I
That
agree.
there you
that
go.
that, that
I
would
agree.
be.
But I'll say, coming again from the filthy casual, John Cena playing the Thing would make me want to see that movie more because I don't care about the Fantastic Four at all.
Well, see, and that was kind of how I felt about the idea for Shazam. There was one point where John Cena was in the runnings
Right.
for Shazam, and I thought to myself, since we cast Black Adam first and it was The Rock, I
Right.
was like, man, that just booked itself, no brainer. You just get John Cena to play Shazam, who's honestly like a perfect Shazam. Not even that I don't even dislike the other guy. I'm losing his name.
Oh, Michael Chiklis?
No. I mean Shazam.
Oh, Shazam, my bad.
Captain Marvel. Who's that guy? Zachary
Levi.
Oh,
There you
Levi.
go.
Yeah,
I
that dude.
feel bad because I actually like him, but that in itself is kind of also my point.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done that with John Cena.
I'm actually with you on that. I'm aligned with you. When I heard John Cena was in running, I thought that is a badass casting. I would have gone with that for sure.
Yeah. I don't know, because he looks like a kid that just became a superhero. Like, I can imagine a kid growing up into
the
John
dude is
Cena.
a real life, like, you look at John Cena when he was a kid versus when he became a wrestler, that's like real life Captain America. Like, he went from regular person to just jacked mammoth human being.
Yeah, agreed. So what Nick is saying there is that little John Cena looks more like Ben Grimm.
Little, yes.
Yeah, I'll take your word
smaller,
for it.
Smaller
Well,
Ben Grimm. Yeah.
So I think we're in agreement that John Cena would be a good casting option as long as they don't mess with the look of the Thing too much. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Maybe they'll actually do like the Captain America thing and actually shrink him some, which would be kind of funny to me to see a shrunken adult John Cena.
I think I might pay for that. For sure.
He probably hasn't looked like that since he was like 13.
Right.
All right. Well, then we got transition to our next segment, which is what we're watching.
Oh, yes.
Tom, what have
I
you
got
been
to tell
watching
you
this
guys,
week?
speaking of John Cena, all right, I watched a movie.
Playing with fire?
No, not Playing with Fire. I watched a movie this week called Vacation Friends. Okay, and here's my thing. I have to know. Have you guys heard of it?
Well, here's where we have to insert the cricket noises because I've never heard of it.
I have not. I'm not at all familiar.
Really?
But is it? I mean, it sounds like a really bad comedy.
Well, okay, you're almost right on the nose because that's exactly what I was expecting. Just a bad comedy, right?
Okay.
And
it was one of the things,
this in.
Right. Well, here's what it was, Will. Let me explain it. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. My wife and I were watching our favorite thing on television, which is what are we going to watch on? Well, it's called What Are We Going to Watch on one of our streaming services, where we just look at a whole bunch of things and add stuff to our list or whatever, but never actually pick something to watch, right?
Right.
So I had made a decision beforehand because I was scrolling through Facebook and I just saw an ad for just John Cena and it was Del Rey, the comedian, in Vacation Friends. And I said, I just looked at it, and on the poster there were no actors that I disliked. There was nobody that would keep me from watching it. So I said, all right. No Pete Davidson. Another like that. No one like that. So I said, okay, well, I'll bank that for later on. And so when the wife and I sat down, I immediately went to Hulu and I went to Vacation Friends, and it wasn't available. And so I said, okay. And so we just made a mental note. And literally the next day, because I guess I had gone to it and everything there, they sent me a trailer and was like, hey, here's the actual trailer from, because I hadn't even seen the trailer yet. And so I see the trailer and they're like, it comes out tonight, my guy, I'm sorry. So we came back, we watched it the next night, and I got to tell you, I was expecting just like I'm expecting a bad comedy where maybe I might laugh one or two times, and I got to tell you, this movie is not a great comedy either. It's one of those nice little middle of the road. This was inoffensive. This was fine.
I can't. I can't wait. That's a
like
ringing endorsement. I
like
can't wait
it's
to
like
watch
It was right
this
out of
was
my
good.
mouth.
Like, well, hold on. Here's the thing, because there's some
It's
things
so
in it
decent,
where
you guys. It's
no,
just
no, no, no.
it's a
It is the
solid
best.
C
I think
It
it
plus.
is
was
the most
surprisingly
mediocre movie I've ever
no,
seen.
no. That in itself is a downplay. Because here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that uh, I went in expecting McDonald's, and I didn't come out with Ruth's Chris, but maybe Olive Garden.
That
Maybe Olive
metaphor
Garden.
definitely does not work on me because I like all three of those things.
See, so watch the movie. Watch the movie. You'll enjoy yourself.
All right.
Fair
So,
enough.
I mean, what is it? We don't even know what it's about.
Okay, so here's what it's about. All right. Without spoiling anything, no spoilers in this review.
Yeah.
You get this couple that's going on vacation, and it's Del Rey. He's planning on proposing to his girlfriend. They get to the hotel, in their room, there's an issue with their room, and they bump into this other couple, this really friendly, obnoxious, and insane couple of John Cena and his girlfriend. And they're this couple that seems to they have no investments or anything, because every year they just save up all their money and then spend all of it before the year is out, and then work their way and save again. They're like that's these people.
Right.
So and he's like a park ranger or something like that. Like he's not like it's not like he's some investment person. They just save up and just spin out. So they've got like the presidential suite and everything there. So they've got enough room for them. So they say, the stuff with your room happened. Come, just stay with us. Just stay with us. And then after that, they have this insane just time. They're on vacation and everything there on the islands and everything. And then, Del Rey and his girlfriend, they propose and everything there, and they're going to be, they're going to get married. But then when they're leaving, they just kind of want to leave this craziness behind, right? And so they're thinking they're done with them until they start planning their wedding, and then these guys show back up in their life, and their very conservative families and everything there are now having to, they're trying to deal with them being there and dealing with all of that as well. So it's very, very basic.
Right.
Okay.
Sounds
Right.
like a very
But
mediocre movie.
yeah, that's what it is. It's a very mediocre movie that doesn't offend anybody. The people who watch it laugh a good couple of times, and you feel fine. And then before you anything too crazy, there's a couple of things where it feels predictable, and you think something's going to happen, then something different happens, and then by the end of it, the star of this movie for me was John Cena, and that was kind of the interesting thing, was that it made me go, wow, John Cena really, like, don't get me wrong, Del Rey's great too, right? And it's really built around him as kind of as the protagonist, right? But John Cena and his supporting role for it, I think he's really good at comedy. And I think he should kind of not stay in that wheelhouse, because he's also a great action star too, obviously. But I think he's really got some comedic timing that,
Yeah.
WWE writing never really
Yeah.
brought out of him.
No, no.
I've always thought that. I've always thought that John Cena was actually an underrated comedic actor. Ever since I saw him when playing
Yeah.
the Lion.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the part that's what I would say is the part that's worth looking into. Kind of how The Rock had some movies that were coming out, and they weren't.
Hey, the rundown
they
was awesome.
Yeah. Well, he
Which
made
one
some
was
that
awesome?
were.
The
He
rundown.
made some. The Rundown. I
never
love The
saw
Rundown.
it.
That's my favorite Rock movie, because if nothing, then for the Arnold Schwarzenegger cameo, the little passing of the torch at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
That's dope.
Yeah.
Okay, so but but he had movies like Walking Tall, right? Like Walking Tall, very mediocre movie. You see what I'm saying? But if you watch Walking Tall while The Rock was on that progression, you probably went, that's a pretty good Rock movie in of itself. Like, you can see
Yeah.
that progression of
Yeah.
him as an actor.
At the time, yeah.
That's a good John Cena movie. Okay.
Right.
I don't think it's gonna the fact, and then the fact that it broke those records for Hulu and everything, and now they've already greenlit a sequel.
Hmm.
Shows
How
it's a very
mediocre it
good
is.
thing for him. It's a vehicle.
Yeah.
Ride that one, John. Like I said, do that.
Don't mind
Because
if I do. Right.
he actually became kind of the star of this movie, because by the time that movie's done, you have he has more of a like, again, Del Rey has the arc and everything as the protagonist,
Hmm.
but you go through so many different emotions and ideas and thoughts and feelings about John Cena that before the movie's over, that I think he ends up stealing it, kind of, in a way.
Yeah. All right.
Sweet.
Well, that is Vacation Friends, and you can find it on Hulu. So
Yes.
thanks
Not
for the
Vacation Buddies.
not
Yes, not
Vacation
Vacation
Buddies.
Buddies.
Yeah, that's a private joke.
Although you know what, honestly, you'll probably still find it even if you search for that.
That's a good point. Yeah, you can find it on Hulu. And it's a very
Vacation
mediocre movie. So
Acquaintance.
run out and
Yeah, if you're looking for
sort of
like a
watch it.
really, if you're the kind of person who's just like, you know what, I've just seen too much really good stuff lately, and I'm looking for a solid, like I'm looking for a really good like 6.5, 7 out of 10 evening. Like I think I'm gonna have like a steak with no seasoning on it and just a glass of water and a movie
What?
to go with it.
Friends is for you.
That's a little rough. This steak is at least seasoned with salt and pepper, sir.
Okay, fair enough.
At least.
Fair
All right.
enough.
Well, okay. Well, Nick, what have you been watching this week?
Very recently, I went back and rewatched a movie that I had watched several years ago, and at the time I liked it, but I didn't love it. But upon rewatching it, I loved it, and it's not recent at all. This movie came out in 1974, but Chinatown. I went back and rewatched Chinatown for the first time in a long time, and I loved it. I mean, it's not for everybody. Like it is basically it's a neo noir. So if you're a fan of film noir, if you're a fan of mysteries, I think you'd really like it. The screenplay is fantastic because it's one of those stories, and the statute of limitations for spoilers has long since expired on this movie, but I'm not going to spoil it. Because it's really that good. It's one of those stories that it starts off as one thing. Jack Nicholson is the star of it. He plays a private investigator named Jake Gittes. And basically the inciting incident of the movie is like this woman comes in and tells him that, she suspects her husband's been cheating on her, and she hires him to, gather information on him. And from there, it's just like one thing leads to another, and he learns more and more stuff as he's investigating, and it turns into like this thing that involves like the LA water supply, which I know sounds super boring, but it's absolutely not. And it just evolves into this crazy thing that involves like a family and all these weird, dark like dynamics that you just don't see coming. And I'm a big fan of stuff like that. I like Jack Nicholson. I like noirs and thrillers and stuff, and I love a good mystery. And just upon watching it again, I was just like blown away. And I was like, I don't remember enjoying it this much the last time I watched it, but like sometimes that happens. Like, you guys ever had that experience? Like, you watch a movie and like you like it fine, but then like you watch it later on down the road and it's almost like you see it with new eyes, and you just see something in it you never saw before, and you're like, no, this is actually amazing. Like, this
Absolutely.
isn't just good. This is like fantastic. That's what I've been watching lately. If anybody wants to check it out, I was watching it on Amazon Prime because they have it. It's one of the few movies they have in 4K on there. So if you have the capabilities to watch it in 4K, it looks gorgeous.
Awesome.
But
I'm
yeah,
gonna have to check it out because it's been a very, very, very long time since I've seen it, and I remember
it is not a family film. I'll say that up front. The John Cena
Don't
movie
bring
is
your
probably one
kids.
you could watch with the family, I'm guessing.
No,
But
you cannot watch that
oh, you
with
can't.
John.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
no, he does so many drugs. No,
Okay.
you
Okay.
can't.
Never mind then. Okay.
that kind of Vacation Friends. I see how it is.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to hide, is all the drugs, man. Don't no, you can't bring the family. Don't bring your kids.
Yeah,
Well,
but that was so I watched that recently. That was just very, very good. I can't say enough good things about it.
I've actually never seen Chinatown, so
I believe
that's
that
one of those ones that would be which is interesting because I actually like noirs and
Yeah.
neo-noirs and
you
everything.
might that would be an interesting one to do because I would be interested to get your opinion on it. You might like it, but I could also see you not really liking it that much.
Well, here's the crazy thing. It's one of those ones, how like every once in a while someone will bring up a movie that was so popular, and it is so popular, you're surprised that you never even knew about it before someone like literally brings it up to you or you see it in something. That happened to me with that what's that Tom Cruise movie where Tim Robbins plays the devil, and it's a
Oh,
Legend.
Legend.
Legend. Yes, with Legend. Someone was talking to me about Legend, and I was just like,
And
"Wait,
it's
what?"
Tim Curry who plays the devil.
Yeah, Tim Curry. That's right. Tim Curry. That's right. Tim Curry plays the
I've
devil.
never seen this either. Is this an
Yeah, well,
Oh,
older? Is this an
I
older Tom
haven't
Cruise
seen
movie?
it.
okay.
I
So
haven't seen it.
I've been a fan of Tangerine Dream, which is a
Hmm.
band that does lots of used to do a lot of soundtracks for movies. And the only reason I watched Legend is because Tangerine Dream did the soundtrack, and it's
That's awesome.
probably the only good thing about the movie.
Yes, yes, that's what I've heard. Well, hold on. The one other thing I'll say is the prosthetic makeup and everything
Well,
for the
Tim
devil
Curry
looked
was
pretty cool.
he was phenomenal. Yes, that
Well,
that makeup
Tim Curry is always great. I
yes,
defy any. Tim Curry
but
makes
in
anything better.
this role, aside from Dr. Frankenfurter, is probably his absolute best. He was unbelievable in that movie.
But
That's the only thing. You're
he
right.
couldn't save the movie.
He could not, sadly, because it was Tom Cruise in the lead role. Unfortunately. I mean,
Oh,
but
poor
this was it was a fantasy film with like
yeah.
unicorns and princesses and Tom Cruise, and Tom Cruise just doesn't fit that mold.
Yeah. So
Right?
That's not him.
this must have been earlier in Cruise's
Yeah,
career.
it was just out of Risky Business and All the Right
Okay.
Moves, and then the next thing he did
See,
was Legend. So
that's the thing that threw me when someone was bringing
Oh
it
yeah,
up.
1985. Yeah. Wow.
They were like, "Yeah, it was after Risky Business," and that's the part where it was throwing
it
me. I was
was.
like, "There's no way that this movie came out after Risky
Yeah.
Business that you're
This looks
describing."
like nothing. This looks like nothing that Tom Cruise would ever be in.
Right.
Oh
No,
yeah,
Like
never now
the
because
poster looks like it's
he
some.
already made that failure
The
once.
poster
yeah,
looks like a cross between like Labyrinth and the Last Starfighter or something like that.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
great way to describe it, actually. Yeah.
that's that looks like nothing that Tom Cruise would
And
ever
see,
be
and
a
that's
part
kind of the way it was described to me when they were telling me about it, Will. And so I'm just like, no, none of this. Like, it kind of how you're saying this doesn't look like some Tom Cruise would do. Imagine being told it because like someone was telling me, and I just like, no, you're just. And I think even at the time we were like at a party, and I'm like, no, you're screwing with me. There's no way this happened.
Now I know what my film is going to be when I do the challenge. You will watch this movie.
Yeah, you have to
All right.
experience. I experienced it. You do too.
So,
All right.
well,
Well, that was
what have you been watching, Will?
so I actually just tried to watch the TV series that I heard so much about. People raved about this thing. It's called Dark on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
It's a German
I've-
series
I've heard
about
of that.
time travel, right? And I've been saving it. I wanted to make sure it was a time where I could actually really dive into it and really understand it because I heard it was hard to follow and you had to really pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. What they didn't warn me about is about kids getting tortured and murdered at the same time.
Ah,
I could so
interesting.
if it I could probably have handled the fact that the kids have their entire eyes burned out and their eardrums burst out through these tortures.
What?
Yeah, I could have.
I might have to
probably
check
handled
this
all
out.
that
This sounds hardcore.
stuff. It is.
When they said dark, they meant that.
Yeah,
Yeah, they didn't lie.
And then to make matters worse, they actually go into a cave for the time travel elements. Right? Get it? Dark. It's dark in
Mhm.
so many
Yes,
levels.
gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
oh my god! After like I got an episode and a half in, and I looked at my wife and I said, "Are you done?" And she said, "Yep." And we said,
Yep.
"Off."
Yeah, that doesn't sound like something that you would like.
No, and not only it wasn't just the darkness of it, but it was just so damn complicated. There's no need for that, man. I watch TV just to be entertained. I don't need to. Try to make a diagram with the string to figure out how things are connecting together. I still have no idea what happened in the series. I have no clue. I heard what 3-4 seasons in or something like that. People were raving about it. Oh, this is the best time travel movie. Oh, and I'm a big sci-fi fan. Time travel is a big ticket thing for me. Nobody, not for me, not for me. So,
Wow.
definitely don't run to watch it if you don't want to watch. That's not something I like. But that's Dark on Netflix. You guys might love it. You might.
I was gonna say like the time travel thing is like time travel is not a huge thing for me, but like you describing like how like they really go there like with the kids and stuff. I'm like I kind of have to see that. Like not really that I want to see. I'm like it takes a lot of balls to do something like that. I kind of respect that.
I mean, the first thing.
Yeah. Well,
You,
I
there's
I'm
there's a kid.
opposite on that.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with
I'm
you.
kind of at that point where it's it's interesting because I appreciate having the balls to go there, but my thing would be, did you need to? If it served like a real true purpose, and so far from the setup that I've heard, if it really disconnects you that much, then it probably wasn't serving a greater story. It's probably seems like it seems like something that it was like shocking for the shocking the sake of shocking you.
Yeah, it just
And
it was not a feel good series.
you
At
know what? I
least
got to be honest with you though, Will. The title doesn't tell me that's what
No,
I'm
yeah,
getting.
yeah, it doesn't tell me that either. Like,
fair point, fair point, fair point. But I just now, in all fairness, I got an episode and a half in. So I may
Mhm.
not be giving it its due. Maybe I should have just stuck with it a couple more episodes and tried. But man, this is not the first time I tried sitting through this thing. This is the
Right.
second time around. I really sat. This
hmm,
time I'm going to do it. This time I got 5 episodes in last time, and I could not tell you a single frame of what happened after what I watched yesterday because
hmm.
You know what?
it's too difficult to follow.
That's just, it's interesting. People always tell me that and I think it's actually a pretty fair critique because we're talking about television shows, and shows are serial. They're expected to go on and on. So honestly, it's like watching one episode is not a good, especially because it's likely a pilot. They're just getting their feel out. They haven't figured out what they are, their identity. You don't, and some shows don't even get that in the first season. It's really that's why usually second seasons are what really kicks.
And
But
I buy it, but here's the thing: if I can't follow the storyline, there's a very real possibility or probability that by the end of the season, I'm going to turn around and go, "What the fuck is going on in this thing? I have no
yeah, no,
idea."
you're absolutely right.
Right? There's another series that came out a while ago that was about time travel, and they played with the timelines and made it really like mind fuck kind of thing.
Was it
And
a Netflix series?
it actually it's sci-fi.
Sci-fi
It
series. Okay.
12 Monkeys. 12 Monkeys was
12
a
monkeys. Oh yeah,
series
the 12 monkeys. Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
that was so like the first couple of episodes they were playing with time, but they tied it all together so it made sense. Whereas this one is like
Mhm.
we're going to make you guess until the last episode, and then we're going to tie it all in together. Well, I'm going to have forgotten what the hell I just watched 5 weeks ago when I
Yeah,
started watching the whole season. So that doesn't work for me.
I see
I,
that.
I'm just
I
a
agree with
different kind
that.
of guy.
yeah.
No,
Time travel is a hard
I see
concept for
that.
me to follow in general. Sometimes when it's not done a certain way, like I had that problem when I watched Interstellar. Like I need to go back and rewatch
Mhm.
it because I got so. I mean, the movie's beautiful. I love Christopher Nolan. I love the
Yeah,
cast.
I
Everything's
love
great about it. But
Interstellar.
like, I got so bogged down by like the science and the physics in that movie that I just couldn't connect to any of the characters or like any the
Wait till you
story.
watch Tenet.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Have you not watched
I'm
it
sure.
yet? You've
No,
not
I haven't
seen it
watched
yet?
it yet. No, I haven't watched it yet.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
so that's
Tenet.
one you'll have to watch that several times too.
That's what I've
Yeah,
heard.
the one thing I really liked about Tenet was and no spoiler on this, but there's a scene where he starts explaining the movie to you, and then like as like through a character, and she literally says, "Don't try to understand it. Like you'll get we got like it was," and I felt like that was him literally telling us, "I get it. I'm saying a lot of stuff right now. We got like 3 hours, man. Just
Just bear with it.
rock with me. Just
Yep.
just be
Yep. And
Yeah,
if I know that going in, then I can handle it. Like a 3 hour movie, I
right,
can handle it. But a 10 episode series, I'm going to watch over several weeks.
right.
right."
You got me lost, man. I can't do it. But
It's
I
tough.
understand you. I'm
Yeah, it's
with you
tough.
there. I'm with
I
you
feel
there.
that. I feel that.
well, that was Dark on Netflix. We're going to transition now to the main event, which is this week's movie review, and
Mhm,
we've decided to tackle the Suicide Squad for very specific reasons, right?
mhm.
So before we get started, just to give you an idea of if you've been hiding under a rock somewhere, what the Suicide Squad is actually about. According to IMDb, it says that the government sends the most dangerous supervillains in the world, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, King Shark, Harley Quinn, and others, to the remote, enemy-infused island of Corto Maltese. Armed with high-tech weapons, they trek through the dangerous jungle on a search and destroy mission with only Colonel Rick Flag on the ground to make them behave.
It's a better
First,
version of a movie that came out 5 years ago.
yes.
Yes.
My first critique just of that synopsis is the world's most dangerous supervillains.
Right. They forgot
Eh,
Captain Boomerang. They forgot. No, I'm kidding. But
yeah, I
so
mean, yeah. I
before we
think
get
you need
started,
at least a Superman villain on the crew if you're going to call that one.
good point. Yeah, but
Just
before we
one.
get started, we want to make sure that we set the table. This we're going to do this in two parts. The first part, there is no spoilers, so there's no danger. You can stick around. If you've not watched the movie, stick around and listen to the conversation. At some point, we'll put up the red flag and say, okay, from this point on, spoilers abound, and that's the point where you can stop it and go watch the movie and come back and finish it up afterwards. But for now, no spoilers allowed. So
I think the
let's just
spoiler-free part's gonna be shorter because there's a lot of spoiler stuff that we need to talk about in this movie.
more than likely. And that's probably going to be the same with every episode that we do. But let's just get the initial reactions. Nick, what was your first thought when you saw The Suicide Squad?
I liked it. I have seen the original that this one is and it's funny because this movie is really like it's it's a it's a remake, but it's not. It's like a sequel and a remake. And if you've seen the first movie, I think this one's actually a little bit more enjoyable because they do some things in the beginning of the movie that are kind of a sort of subtle yet not so subtle, like nod to the first movie in certain ways. But overall, I liked it. I enjoyed. I mean, I loved Cena. I loved King Shark. I loved like all of the characters that were new that they brought to it. I loved that they kept who everybody universally agreed was the best part of the first movie, which was Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I liked Idris Elba. The tone of it I liked. You know, the violence was like it's very violent, but it's like cartoony violent. Like the context of the violence is funny, and I like that. James Gunn is a very talented dude. I'm glad they put it in his hands because like I big fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, and being a filthy comic book casual, before I saw Guardians of the Galaxy, I didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were, nothing about it. But when I saw Guardians of the Galaxy at the time, that became my favorite Marvel movie at that time, just because I loved what he did with it. I thought the tone was great, his use of music. Yeah, I thought it was great. Rotten Tomatoes, I think, gave it like a 91. I don't know if I'd put it quite that high. That's a little generous, I think, but I think it was a definite improvement over the first one. Like, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10, I think.
All right, fair enough. Tom, do you agree?
I freaking loved this movie. Let me just say,
Hey,
let
don't
me
hold back,
for
okay?
for a couple of different reasons that I'll get into really heavily in the spoiler part. But first off, I'm a James Gunn fan, and probably one of my favorite movies of his is actually Super, a movie that he did before where it was a superhero movie, but the fact that it was this unknown superhero that he had that he told this whole other story with, I always and was so visual for such a smaller movie that what it was, that really let me know that when he got the Suicide Squad, that really excited me with the fact that he was actually at Warner Brothers. Because here's the one thing, for all the things that I don't like about Warner Media, and as a Snyder fan, I'm very, very vocal about them on that.
Boy.
If anybody's Facebook friends with Tom that listens to this, you can attest to that
you
fact.
you know, I just me and Warner Media owes me an apology letter. Anyway,
You might want to have a seat while you wait for that.
yeah, they've made that very clear.
Mm.
So, and I'll actually get to my point on that later about Suicide Squad too. But here, my thing is that they have this thing over there where they just really kind of take the reins off of the directors until they get into post. Do you see what I'm saying? They will really let a director go make the movie they want it to make. Then they'll bring it back and they'll be like, you can't do that. And then they give them something different that they chopped up. And then people crap on it. And then, but here's the thing, I don't feel that anybody stopped James Gunn from making the movie he wanted to make this time around. You see what
Mm.
I'm saying? Like if anything, I don't feel like they really learned their lesson from the Snyder Cut situation. But I think what they've decided was they knew they weren't going to let this become another Snyder cut, Ayer cut, something where they felt where fans complained and felt that the director wasn't able to give them their vision. So that this way, fail or success, and we'll talk about that in a minute. James Gunn's movie got to be seen. And I personally think it was very good. I think it'll be one of the highlights of John Cena's career. I think it's the
Yes,
best movie that John Cena's been in, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with that.
Um,
I agree with that.
and I think it will be a cult favorite. Go down as that. As there are a lot of DC films that are cult favorites. They just aren't,
Will's face.
hits. So I know. Let's get ready for it. Let's get ready for it. Will, my friend,
Let's hear the
who
dissenting opinion
disagrees
from
with
Chief
me so
Justice
often,
Will Rodriguez.
Chief
All right.
Justice Will
All right.
Rodriguez. Yes.
So I will say, I will admit that I probably need to go watch this movie again.
Okay.
Because I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about.
I knew it.
I mean, so I too am a fan of his, of John Cena and the director, but I was not prepared for what I saw. Right. So first, I was a fan of the Suicide Squad, the original run, the Ostrander run in the comics. So I'm a fan of Colonel Flag and all those cast of characters from the original run. So I was excited to have an actual filmmaker who did such a great job with the Guardians of the Galaxy, bring them to life on screen, because to Nick's point, we had one before and it was an abomination. So here I am, really excited, and that might be part of the problem, because I was so excited. Same thing happened to me when I first watched the 1985 or 86, whatever it was, or 88 Batman with Michael Keaton. I was
89 Batman. I'm
89,
sorry, you didn't Wait a minute. Well, this is going to hold on. I just want to prepare myself. I need a second. Okay. All right. Go ahead, Will.
I was such a Batman fan at the time that I was so stoked for this movie that the first time I saw it, I was severely disappointed, because it could not ever live up to my expectations. Then I went back and watched it a second time and fell absolutely head over heels in love with it.
Thank God. Okay, we got there.
All right.
Okay.
We got there.
We don't need to do a divorce just yet. Okay. Now, I'm assuming the same thing has happened with me with the Suicide Squad. I was so pumped to watch this movie that I was so drastically disappointed from what I saw. And another reason why that could have been is because I was sitting next to my wife while we were watching it. And every time someone's face blew off, she like, oh, wow, oh, I can't. So
yeah.
It's hard to enjoy a movie when your wife is struggling with it. When she says, I don't think I can watch this. And
That's
the fact
fair.
is, I don't laugh a lot at movies unless she's watching with me. So I take her to all the Marvel movies, because if you know my wife, man, her laugh could be heard 3 miles away. She makes that whole experience so much better for me. So I knew this dude directed Guardians of the Galaxy. I knew this thing was going to be funny. I wanted her there so that I could laugh. And when she turns to me, she goes, I don't think I can watch this. It devastated me, because I was so desperately wanted to watch this movie. Then my whole mindset got thrown off.
That's a tough one. When you're with your wife, your significant other, whoever, and like you really want to share that experience, and they just aren't feeling it. That's tough. That's a tough dynamic and vibe to overcome.
But I gotta ask. I want to ask real quick. Have you seen Super, Will?
I have.
You have.
I have. Yep.
So, as someone who's seen Super,
I thought he had
remember how
graduated beyond
violent.
it. I thought he'd moved
Graduated? No, he just got hired by Disney. You can't do that over there.
I mean, I had hoped. I just like his tweets had mellowed out. I was hoping that his directing had mellowed out too.
He didn't. Well, he didn't make any any of those jokes or anything in it. Like I'm saying, what the violent part though, I knew the moment they said James Gunn Suicide Squad, I already know. Well, if you know Suicide Squad, that means at some point somebody's head is going to explode.
Sure.
Period.
No, I got that. Yeah.
We already know that.
Slipknot.
Now
Right?
we know there's so many ways to do that. But if you've seen Super, you already know how James Gunn is going to do it.
Yes.
Okay. You already know how he's going to do it.
And I was just as uncomfortable watching Super as I was with Suicide Squad.
I agree, but my thing is this: it's kind of like when you prescribe to watch a show called Dark, and then it gets dark and goes there. Okay, you can't sign up for James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, and then when he's James Gunn, you go, man, I don't know why
Well,
you're
and
doing this.
also it's rated R, right? Like,
It's very rated. It's
yeah. So
heavy
I mean,
R.
so it's like what it's rated going into
Yeah.
it.
Fair points. All of those are fair points, but I was not prepared. The
Got you.
last James Gunn that I saw was Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's kind of what I was expecting. And I was all like, yeah, baby. Even though Suicide Squad, the comics, was not like Guardians of the Galaxy. It was not lighthearted. It was not funny. It was not fun. It
Mhm.
was hardcore.
Mhm.
So he actually did probably the better Suicide Squad than I was expecting, but I wasn't prepared for it.
Sure.
So
Yeah, it's
in all
funny
fairness.
because Lindsay Lohan used to work for Disney too, Will.
I see a pattern emerging.
We know how that turned out.
I'm just saying, I see all of your points, and I see what you're saying. And what I think really, like, I think you nailed what you probably should do, and that's watch the movie now with this
Yep.
fresh lens.
Mhm.
Yes.
You see it with a new lens, kind of like how Nick, came back and fell in love with Chinatown.
Chinatown,
I
yeah,
think if you watch it with the right since now you know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah. And I purposely did not watch it again prior to our recording this because I wanted to give my initial
No, I appreciate that.
reaction.
It's more entertaining.
Now I can go back and I can come back and report on it after I've watched it again because it's happened many, many times where I will watch a film and my anticipation is so through the roof that I'm just like disappointed. And I come back and watch it a second time and go, what was wrong with me? Like
that's how I felt about Spider-Man Homecoming. Like,
interesting.
for me, like, I just was like, which is funny because I really like Tom Holland as Spider-Man now. Like, I really like everything there. But when I saw the first one, I was like, that's fine. That was fine. I guess that was fine.
I think
But my expectations of it were because, the Amazing Spider-Man movies were just like at best they were pretty mediocre.
They were
And
fine.
2 was pretty.
You want to talk about fine? The Amazing
Yeah,
Spider-Man
fine.
movies,
That
they were fine.
They never got above fine. Everything hit fine, and that was the plateau.
They were the vacation friends of the superhero genre.
It was.
That's exactly it.
They were in color. Everything was in focus.
Right. Everything was in focus. It was technically sound.
Yes.
Anyway, though they had pacing issues.
Yeah.
But if you went to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, they were so great that I was thinking an idea that, well, yes, the first two.
Yeah,
the third movie. Here's how good Sam Raimi's first 2 Spider-Man movies were, that they kind of get done the same way The Matrix does for me, where that first movie was so good that I just roll everything that happened into those movies into just The Matrix as a franchise. And then people go, yeah, but what about these movies? I'm like, yeah, I know they suck, but the good things out of those belong with The Matrix.
As a sci-fi fan, I take offense to that because I actually, all 3 Matrix movies were totally different. If you take them just as standalone science fiction movies, I loved the third one. That's the one that people hate the most, and I loved it.
Oh
I
my
thought
God.
it was fantastic.
Why, Will, you don't understand. Here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing, all right? Even when you and I agree on an unpopular opinion, right? Because I'm going to say something crazy here in a second. I love the Matrix movies. My favorite one is the second. Like, I love Reloaded.
You like the
because,
weird rave in hell scene while Neo and Trinity are like,
you know why?
sex
My very first lesson in film appreciation was about that scene, and and it was because they were like, "What is the point?"
You would need to teach me how to appreciate it as well. Let me
explain, because I love that scene. I can't bring that scene up and not defend it. Here's the thing. There's no other point in the entire Matrix trilogy where you ever see the people of Zion actually enjoying being alive. That is the only point that happens. Otherwise, the life that you see Zion has, what the hell are they fighting for? Leave me in the Matrix. Leave me in the Matrix.
That's an interesting spin. I'll give you that.
No, it's real, man. Because you got to remember, it was all done at the same time. There's like no other point. That is the only point where they love you. Also, that's where you get the weird like sex scene thing. The whole point is the theology of the scene makes so much sense. Your problem with it is probably execution.
Yeah, I mean, well, because to me, generally speaking, with and I'm speaking very generally, but to me, generally speaking, execution is what matters at the end of the day, because that's what I see as a viewer. Like, you can have the greatest idea in
The
the
first time.
world. Well, I'm just saying, like with any movie, like execution is everything. Like, you can have the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't execute it well, who cares?
Well, true, but my thing is that, the thing with the execution of it is execution can be one of those things that you lack it because of the way that you perceived it, because there's a perception thing. You're
Sure.
talking about the
Oh,
subjectivity.
it's totally
All three of
subjective.
us
Like,
watch
don't get me
all these
wrong.
different movies. Well, yeah, no. But I'm saying, but if the true intent behind it is there, then the part where you lose people is the execution. But that also is kind of where the intent can bring people in. Like me, I hated that scene. I hated that scene so much that that was the one thing that I would be the first thing I would complain about. And then it took someone else to explain to me, like kind of to really kind of think about the theology and everything there with the characters and everything you see. And when they laid it out there to me and they were like, yeah, what's the point of living if life's like the way you see Zion every other time other than that particular scene? There's no point where they enjoy each other or themselves. And we know it's hard to fit that into that movie, the style that it is and everything. So it is kind of jarring, but you also kind of need it in a way. So, and for telling that human part of the story. Anyway, we've
Fair
talked too
enough.
much about the Matrix.
That's fine.
So let's get reeling everybody back
Reeling
in.
back again.
Right?
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert time! It's spoiler alert time.
Yeah, so let's go ahead.
Yes.
I don't think we can talk much more about the movie without going into spoilers. So let's go ahead and roll the spoiler
it.
alert. From this point forward, we are no holds barred. If you've not watched the movie, please go ahead and put us on pause and go watch the movie and come back and watch it, because otherwise we will spoil the movie
You
for
can't
you.
blame us
So-
for anything from
Guys.
here on out. We've made it very clear.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
guys,
you already
let's do it.
ruined
Let's do it.
Chinatown, so why not this one too? But-
I didn't ruin Chinatown.
all right. So
You did ruin Chinatown. I haven't seen it.
No, you have no. You have no idea. If you watch that, you have no idea where that movie ends up. But anyway, yeah. So the spoilers. So like, let's get into the specific nitty gritty. Like, there was a line. I have to say, when I was watching this, I thought about you, Tom, because there was a line, and I'm probably going to paraphrase it here, and you might even know what I'm talking about already. There was a line in the movie when
No,
they go
please,
into
God. I
that
hope it's not the
when
last
they go
movie.
into that camp and they like kill literally everybody in that camp.
I love that scene.
Like, yeah, I'm sure you
I
do.
love that scene.
But so it's like John Cena and Idris Elba are basically like having a pissing contest of like who can like kill
Right,
people
trying to
like
outdo each other.
cool. Yeah. And at the
Mhm.
end of it, there's that moment where they and you might remember better than me, but there's that line where they have that exchange about how like it looked really dope or whatever, and Idris Elba's just like,
Yeah.
Idris Elba's just like, fuck, he's right, it is dope. And I was like, that is a Tom line if I've ever heard it. Like, I just imagined you laughing your ass off at that, because I'm like, if Tom made this movie, like that is a line that he would put in that movie, because that is a
There would be
Tom
so
moment.
much infamous. That would yes. There's two lines that are flat out lines. That I'm glad you thought of me when you saw.
Yeah,
when you
that
wrote
was literally the first thing
Uh,
that popped into my head. I was like, I bet Tom loved that part.
because I love that line, and then my other line that is like hands down like one of my favorite ones in there was Peacemakers.
Oh God,
When
please don't.
she's and
Not,
when she
not
said, "I know you hate it. I know you hate it," and she's like, well, "Why are you doing this to me?" He said, "Because I'm thorough." And I was like,
Yeah,
"That is so
that was
the
good.
line
That was
that I
good.
thought because it like the thing for me was this: if you're like a pro wrestling fan, right? It's what John Cena represented for his time as a pro wrestler. He was the poster boy. He was the company man. He was the guy that when he walked out there, he was never going to say a single thing that Vince McMahon didn't want him to say.
Right.
Even if He knew where the fans were. He was going to pull them back like sheep right where Vince wanted them. He's going to do exactly what Vince wanted. So when he stood there, I knew he was. I already knew. I mean, if you
Yeah.
know, what's her name, Amanda Waller, you knew there was somebody there with an ulterior motive.
Yes.
I already was thinking to myself, it's definitely Peacemaker because John Cena's a company man. She picked him out.
Very
So when
true.
he said, and he
Great
looked at her
point.
like, because I'm Pharaoh, I said, there is never a line that has more defined John Cena to me than that right there. I'm Pharaoh. And then he was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'll kill this chick because I was told to.
Yeah.
I
No,
was told
that
to.
is 100% right.
Well,
I'm
that's the
interested
job.
to know from Will's perspective, since we're in the spoiler part, like, what did you like about it?
Yeah.
Since you talked about things you didn't like, I'm curious I'm sure you found something to like about it while you watched it. I would imagine.
Yeah, what did you like, man? You can't hate it. There was too much good there. Look at it. He's struggling though.
I am, because you guys are expounding love on Peacemaker, the character that killed Colonel Rick Flag, and I cannot abide by that.
Oh yeah, no, he was horrible, bro. He was horrible.
No, I mean John Cena's total villain, but like I loved it.
Yeah, I did.
So there is one character that I actually liked a lot, and that was King Shark. I thought he was fun.
How could you not? Like, how could you not?
I thought some of the one-liners that John Cena kept dropping, the one about the bag of dicks on the beach. I mean that was all like, right.
That's also very
James
Cena.
Gunn?
And it's also very Cena. Like that's
It is
something I
very
feel like
Cena.
Cena would say.
Yeah. And I did love being able to see Starro on screen for the first time ever.
That was pretty great.
Yeah.
And I honestly didn't expect to get that until I think it was like actually there was one trailer where they had it there and I said, are they going to put Starro in the movie? Starro's in the movie? And I was kind of surprised.
I saw a still, production still, where there was a reflection in someone's glasses or something, and you could see someone lying on the ground with a starfish on his face. And that's when I knew Starro was coming in. The problem is that they made Starro into a big Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters, and that's where they lost me, because now Starro is badass. If you know the history of Starro, he was the first one.
I don't. So I liked it because I have no clue what the history is.
Is Starro not badass in this movie?
No, he was a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. He was dancing around.
He was big?
But big guy, right? But Starro was
I will not let you sit here
and
besmirch the good goddamn name of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, all right? I love Ghostbusters.
That's fair, Nick. That's fair, Nick.
Sustained.
Look, I'm just saying. No, and from the comic book perspective, I get it, because admittedly, I know nothing about the Suicide Squad comics. But I was like, it kind of reminded me of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man a little bit, so I agree with you. But I liked it. But I also thought, like with the starfish, I was like, this kind of reminds me of like I remember when Watchmen came out, and I had read Watchmen, so I was familiar with the source material, and I was like, and of course we didn't get the giant squid at the end. I was like, this for me is kind of my giant squid moment that I never got in Watchmen. There's like this random gigantic starfish that's like fucking everybody up, and I love it. Like, it's hilarious.
Y'all got to let that giant squid go.
Well, if you want to see the giant squid, watch the Watchmen TV show on HBO.
I do need to do that.
They do have the giant squid in there. It's a great. Here's my thing. Let me just tell you about the giant squid real quick. Okay. The Watchmen TV show is fantastic, but if there's anything that movie or that show proved to me about the giant squid, it's that it would have felt just as freaking out of place in that movie as it did in the show. Because even in the show, when they try to explain it and make it part of the thing, it still didn't really factor into the actual plot of the show. It just was a thing that happens that they would bring up that happened previously before. You see what I'm saying? Like, with the dimensional thing, and then the teleporting. Well, that's getting into all of it. But my whole point is, my point on it is the actual squid itself. You see what I'm saying? The part where it's the actual squid, that part was not as important to really the storyline. And so I just feel like, again with Watchmen, I think Watchmen, especially the director's cut, is a freaking masterpiece. Back off. We'll fight.
It's all good. Well, what are some of your other spoiler thoughts, Will, on the movie from the
Yeah.
perspective of someone who didn't particularly enjoy his
Yeah.
first viewing?
Because actually, I want to know specifically. I mean, Nick asked a really nice question about finding out what you liked.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
want you to give me like spoiler straight in there. What was it beyond just the fact that your wonderful wife could not watch it with you anymore?
So remember in the first Suicide Squad movie where they brought in Slipknot just to show that they can blow off his face or his head or whatever.
Yeah.
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 I kind of felt like the entire first squad got done away with entirely too quickly. Like
Yes.
just it was a throwaway. Captain Boomerang, the Weasel,
Mhm.
all those characters who I thought, oh, this is a good group, man. This is gonna be a pretty kick-ass mission or movie, whatever. Within 12 seconds, all of them except for Rick Flag, I think was the only guy.
Yeah. And Harley.
And Harley, because they're never going to do her. And by the way, Harley Quinn was not in the original Suicide Squad. She was
Right.
in the new version, which sucks. So I'm not a huge fan of having Harley Quinn in the Suicide Squad. But there were so many missed opportunities with those characters that they could have. Weasel, he freaking drowns, and he's out of the movie for the whole.
That was actually genuinely kind of sad. That was like the only point during the movie.
Not if you watch the after credit scene.
Well,
you watch the after credit, he's alive.
But I mean, in the moment, though, I know. But in the moment, I'm saying, just when I saw it,
does he still have a bomb in his head?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he would. But I gotta say, I liked that. I liked that they killed all those people off in the beginning and this is just my take on it. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but this is how I took it. I took it as like this first team. These are like avatars for people who are in the first movie, and we know that you hated the first movie. So we're killing all these people as like a representation of like, fuck the first movie. They're all gone. And then, because after that, you get your new team where it's like, here's the people in this movie, which is way better kind of thing.
And I get that. But the good thing about the comic was that the team went in and you genuinely didn't know who was making it out alive. So when this team went in and none of them got out alive, it's just not as much fun, right? The stakes are like, okay, well, fuck. And then the second team comes on. Okay, well, all these motherfuckers are probably going to die too. So why should I get invested in these characters?
That was actually kind of perfect.
Right?
That's what I loved about it.
Well, but then
here's the thing.
If you fall in love with a character, then you've got stakes, and then it
how
really
did you fall in love with any of these characters? They were in the movie for 10 minutes.
Dude, from reading Captain Boomerang comics from my entire childhood. I mean, Captain Boomerang died. That was the biggest one.
But it was the first off, pause. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm sorry. You're sitting over here thinking to yourself, who the hell is Captain Boomerang, right?
Yeah.
Because I only know him from the crappy, because he's a dirty casual.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Let me tell you, as someone who is a comic book fan, no one cares about Captain Boomerang. Okay, here's the thing. If anybody cared about Captain Boomerang, Jai Courtney would still have a career. My point is, I'm getting to, okay? There's a reason why he was specifically on that squad to die. If there was anything vital about Captain Boomerang that they could sell this movie on, he would have survived the first one just like Rick Flag and Harley Quinn did. And what I love is the idea that you just pointed out. You said the thing about reading the comic was like, you never know if they're going to make it out alive. Well, when you're following this entire squad and you only see this squad and you see Rick Flag from the last movie and you see Harley Quinn from the last movie and you see Captain Boomerang from last movie, this is the Suicide Squad. And then when they all die almost immediately, with the exception of those two, for me, that created exactly what you're saying, was the fact that, oh my God, these guys could be gone at any minute.
Yeah.
So like you said, well, like your whole thing was, how am I supposed to invest in these characters if I know they could be gone any minute? I was like, that's exactly the feeling you said you wanted from the comic.
So I would agree with you, except for the fact that when all of them die in 12 seconds, there's no drama there, right? At least if you're going to kill off Captain Boomerang, like kill him off and then have the rest of them survive, and then they're like stakes. Okay, then they go back in, and then someone else maybe gets really. The point is, if they're all going to die in 12 seconds.
That's the only reason they were there. I don't understand how anybody didn't know that going in. Because I actually called this like a wrestling match like months ago. Okay, when they were walking out on the thing, I
I'll
said,
tell you.
I
I'll tell you why. Because in the
what?
comics, routinely, this entire team would go in and like 3 or 4 of them would die, and then the rest of them would come back, and then they'd go out on another suicide mission, and they just restock the supplies of villains, and then some other people would die, and but there was always a core group that you were worried, and inevitably one or two of that core group would die. But there's
That's
returning characters.
exactly what
No, they just
happened,
all die at
Will.
the same time. It doesn't.
That's
You're missing
exact.
that.
No, no, they didn't all die
There's,
because your core
they,
group, Rick Flag and Harley, who we can
that's
sell this
not the core
movie
group.
on,
It's two
live,
people.
so
No,
that they can get mixed with more villains that we threw in
Yeah.
later on the other side of the island.
the only villain that survived was Harley Quinn. She's the only one, and it just it didn't play for me because
Right.
there was no anticipation, there was no drama, there was no oh my god, I'm worried because oh crap, they all died. Like it's all
Well,
done.
I'll give you this. I didn't read a lot of Suicide comics itself, but
But
I
graphic
fell more in
novels,
love
different
with.
story.
Uh, Will, don't do that. You and I both know there are no Suicide Squad graphic novels.
Ah, you're probably right. You're
Okay.
probably right.
Okay, but um the thing was for me was I got introduced to the Suicide Squad, and it is actually my favorite episode of Justice League Unlimited when they break into the Watchtower and everything there, because it had never crossed my mind before, because that episode actually plays out like a heist movie, kind of like Ocean's 11,
It's
and the idea of supervillains doing a heist and everything there, getting stealing from the Justice League, like that was like a really cool idea.
it,
So that's how I got into the idea of the Suicide Squad and following there. But here's the thing: in every single animated version of the Suicide Squad, there is a whiplash. And
yeah.
by that, I mean there's one person who goes out there and tries to ignore Amanda Waller. In one episode, in one thing I saw, I believe it was actually King Shark himself. Um, Definitely KG Beast before, but they'll walk off and decide they're not going to do what Amanda Waller said. And this is how we showed them by boom, here's the bomb, right? But instead of that, so I'm used to someone in the Suicide Squad dying very early on, immediately. But when I saw the cast list of how many people were in this movie and how many of them were playing these roles, I immediately said a bunch of these people are going to die really early on in this movie, right off the bat. And then even the way it was done, though, kind of bait and switched me in a way I more appreciate it, because I knew them dying was predictable for me. The idea that the other team had been sent separately, because I thought they were just going to send another team like next week, not they sent two.
Right, right, and that's what I thought too. But you know, remember like
Yeah.
the slasher movies, Friday the 13th, Halloween, all those movies where
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
by one they get taken out, and the stress,
Yeah.
the anticipation is what keeps you on the edge of your toes. Is that one by one, you don't know which one's going to go next. That's
Yes.
kind of what I was hoping for, not
Right.
a
Well,
full on
I
boom, you're
and
dead.
I
you start
agree
from
with
scratch.
that. I agree with that in the context of those films. For this one, because I think part of the fundamental issue, or at least for you, Will, I think is because you're coming from the comic books. Like, because I knew nothing about the comic books, but I knew a lot about the first movie. I knew how I felt about the first movie, and like to me, this movie was kind of. I mean, the movie is the movie, and it's like there's. Like I said, I think that was also their intent with that scene. I mean, I could be reading too much into it, but to me, it was like that was just them saying, "Hey, the first movie
Yep.
sucked. Here's our visual representation of it." And for me, it worked because all I know is the movies, and I did think the first movie sucked. So I was like, "Yeah, good. Kill those people. I don't care about these
I don't
people."
think I don't
Like,
I honestly don't think that's what James Gunn was doing, because he's a pretty, I don't know if there's one thing you noticed from this movie, and if you've seen Super or anything there, he's a pretty on the nose guy when he's making a reference to something. So I don't know. I think it would have been more obvious. Although I guess maybe that could be it. The fact that Captain Boomerang was on the team and died, and then the two viable stars you had from it you kept.
well,
Because
that was
that was
kind
the
of the
other
thing
thing
because
about this movie that I
because
thought.
Harley survived, and the other, like, they were the only
Right,
ones that were
right.
kept. So it was like,
Her and Flag. Yeah,
yeah,
so you might actually be on to something there, Nick. But my thing that I really thought was weird was that this movie wouldn't just honestly just be the sequel that it was saying. Because the one thing was this: once the movie starts and you actually get into the movie, it's quite obvious that it's a sequel. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Whereas
Yeah.
before, a lot of people were always kind of questioning, is it a sequel, is it a remake? It's like a sequel remake.
Yeah,
It's
that's kinda what
definitely
I was saying
follows
earlier.
behind.
It's a combination. It's like a hybrid.
Yeah. Yeah, in a way that I think they lost people on that because there were some people wanted a sequel. People who really wanted a sequel but thought this was a remake, they probably weren't that interested in seeing the movie, and that's probably part of why, it's considered more of a bomb and everything, along with COVID and all the other problems that they've
Mhm.
got. Um and then I
Is it
think
considered a
people who
bomb? It
wanted
has
they did consider it a bomb. It's considered a box office bomb,
because of
kind of
the
almost unfairly in a way,
well,
as far as
because
I'm
it's on
concerned,
HBO
because
Max, because I guess that's where most people
yes,
watched it. That's where I watched it,
yes,
was on
it's
HBO
also on,
Max.
yeah, that's where most people, I watched it twice on HBO Max. So I'm like,
You showed them.
yeah, here's my thing. A lot of people, I know that the movie theater industry hates on HBO Max for their day and day releases and everything. I have to say, I really appreciated that as a consumer. There was nothing that made me more. I was already going to get HBO Max, but that definitely made it. I probably would have dropped it by now if it weren't for that, to be quite honest. Once I
Mhm.
got the Snyder cut and everything, and I was pretty much, they haven't really released a whole lot of just great HBO Max content that isn't connected to, their day and day releases and everything as well, from my liking, you know. But I appreciated it having to stay home and everything. So I really liked it.
Yeah.
But I think that really did hurt their box office a lot.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
But I think there was a lot of things that hurt their box office. I think WB needs to actually recognize that they might have a little bit of an issue with their fan base, because I think they're leaning towards having a broken franchise with the DC universe.
Oh, yeah.
Because here's their problem. Say what you will for Snyder Cut fans and the Snyder people and everything there, but they're honestly a much more sizable group than what people probably thought. That being said, they're not big enough to really take on the whole fandom itself to be dependent on for the entire universe, right?
No.
But they've also felt so burned by this company and this franchise as it is, they're not really giving any chances to the new stuff.
That's
Okay.
because they gave it the reins to a guy who didn't understand the characters he was doing.
I wait.
No, no, we're going to
Which
fight.
one are we talking about
No, we're
now?
going to fight. We're going to talk. We're going to fight.
I know you're talking. I know you're talking about Snyder,
Yes, I am.
but okay, so you're not talking about James. But that's not the part I'm talking about. What I'm talking about, that's more of a subjective thing.
No,
What I'm talking about is
no,
more
be
the
objective right
fans.
now. The proof is up on the screen.
More. What I'm talking about is more specifically the fans, the people who are Snyder fans. There's a lot of them. Okay. And there's enough of them that they're becoming a problem, in the sense that, hey, we wanted this thing, and we vocally really want this thing. And when people as fans come and tell you we really vocally want this, and you say no, okay, and you piss off enough of them, you don't even need to piss off all of them, but let's just say 50% of the Snyder fans are out. Okay, just 50% of them. You get half of them back, you still got yourself a problem. You see what I'm saying? Because you've got these other people who are there, and there's a lot of people who just didn't want any of the Snyder stuff, right? But there's just, again, there's not enough of them to make up what you need as well to be a box office draw. But the thing is, I really, really enjoyed the Suicide Squad. I think they have a good thing there with what James Gunn did. I really hope that I hope that the Peacemaker series does well on
Yeah.
HBO Max.
So I will say, when I saw the movie and I saw at first that Peacemaker had died, I was like, "Ugh, I'm so not watching that series. I can't stand prequels. I can't do it.
Right.
Can't do it." But then, lo and behold, okay, now you got my attention again.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat with you. I was not interested in the prequel series. I didn't want to root for this guy that I know ends up being, this
Mm,
horrible person.
right.
You've got a better chance of giving me the horrible person and then convincing me down the line, like, hey, dude, you're horrible, but, you know. I still care about what you're doing for whatever reason.
Right.
This is cool.
Yeah, and in the
I'll follow
comics,
that.
Peacemaker was a whack job, just like he
He
was
was a
in,
whack job.
in the movie. So that
Yeah.
might be interesting. But we'll see.
I hope they play more into his helmet though, because that thing has always been just like weird.
And that's the thing, his helmet. The Peacemaker never took off his helmet. That's why I'm
Yeah.
saying that when we talk about John Cena in the
Yo,
Thing,
that was one of those things.
right.
I
So
see.
if John Cena has to have his face shown, he's not the Thing, because just like Judge Dredd
That's
and
every
Stallone,
actor.
when
Yeah,
Stallone,
Keith
but
yeah.
so what's his face, Urban,
Urban. He
right?
did it.
He did
He
not.
did it. He went the
He
whole
kept his
way.
helmet the
He went
entire
the
time.
whole
He
way
was
just
committed to the
keeping it. Yep.
character, right? So
Yep.
if he's committed to the character, Peacemaker, he never takes on helmet off. But
And he was a much better. He was a much
Well,
better
look,
Judge Dredd.
if there's
He was.
anything that us wrestling fans know about John Cena, he is committed to the character.
He's committed to the character, but he's also committed to his image and that money. And I
Right.
think that John Cena is going to need you to see and know that he's in this movie.
I mean,
think
the
he'll be
dude,
fine
the
being
dude
the
wore
Thing.
the costume all over the, like, he stole it and like was wearing it when he didn't even have to wear it. Like,
Yes,
he's
yes,
very
but
committed.
my thing is with that character, what Will's pointing out, which I will give him. Peacemaker never took the helmet off. It was like a weird thing with him
Right.
about this helmet. Like when he would become Peacemaker, because he, you know how DC is. I know you're a casual, so you don't understand the secret identities. So in Marvel, they like it's almost like nobody has secret identity. Everybody knows who everybody is for the most part and everything. Whereas in DC, like in the actual, everybody had secret identities. And Peacemaker actually comes from Carlton Comics, if I'm not
Carlton,
mistaken.
yep,
Carlton.
Yep.
And so he does have a secret identity thing. So it was always a big thing with his mask, his helmet being on. Now, the one thing that I guess you could storyline give them that makes sense here is that he's already in jail. Everybody would already know who he is anyway. But it still was kind of a weird, like I said, when I said that a Peacemaker had a weird connection to his helmet, he's connected to that helmet, man.
But it went much further than just the fact that he was hiding his secret identity. Like his helmet was
his thing, his powers.
Like it he talked to it. Like it was an entity. It was another character.
Yeah.
And they didn't use that in the movie at all.
Because he was kind of crazy. Peacemaker has a screw loose in the comics. Okay,
yeah, for sure.
And obviously John Cena has a screw loose in this movie, but it's more of the violent and more of the violence type, more of the hey, I'm a bad guy kind of thing. Whereas there are parts of that are definitely in the Peacemaker comic and everything, but he's more kind of on the lines of Moon Knight. Like he's insane. There's something wrong in there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. He represented that crazy over the top, like libertarian, you tear my guns from my cold dead body kind of militaristic kind of guy. And it was a take on that. Right. And it was really interesting because they had a lot of commentary with the character, which James Gunn kind of, I don't want to say the word ruined because I don't want to hurt your feelings, but
I don't think it was one movie and there was a billion characters and he's got an entire series that James Gunn also did. Let's give him a time.
Crickets, just abject silence.
All right. Any last minute words of wisdom you guys want to impart on this movie, because we've run quite a bit over.
Yeah, you got some editing to do.
That's fine. I mean, it's good. I mean, like if you're inclined to watch, I mean, it's violent. It's it's rated R. You know that going in. But I mean, if you're inclined to watch a movie like this, I recommend it. I think it's fun. If you saw the first one and did not like it, I think you'll probably like this one better. If you saw the first one and liked it, I would suggest you go see a doctor. But that's I mean, I recommend it overall. Yeah, I'd recommend people see it.
It's because Jared Leto's in it, isn't it?
That is a conversation for another time. But don't get me started on Jared Leto.
That would get how I hate him. Let me count the ways.
All right. Well, so the consensus is generally, I have heard most people have said that they really liked it. I know I'm in the minority, and I will watch it again and report back, because the likelihood that I'll like it is probably fairly high, knowing now what I'm going into. So. All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about movies. It's what I love to do the most, and this was fun.
Yeah, I had a good time. Thanks for listening.
Yep, same.
And I'm really excited to hear what you think when you get a chance to watch Suicide Squad again with fresh eyes.
Yeah. So you're talking about the Suicide Squad, right?
Not the Suicide Squad. Not Suicide Squad.
Right. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, for those of you listening, thanks for tuning in. If you would like to subscribe to the show and share it with your friends, people who you think will enjoy the conversation, we would love that. As the show that's just starting out, we need all the help we can get. So, if you have any questions for us, our contact information will be in the show notes. So please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know. Did you like the Suicide Squad? Have you been watching something that's interesting that maybe we'd like to watch too? Is there a challenge you want us to undergo? Something you want us to watch and then give our opinions on it? Let us know. All of the information to reach out to us is in the show notes. I guess that's all for now, guys. Thanks again for listening. And we will see you again next time on Let's Get Real.